All right, let's talk about turning ideas into reality. We've all got great ones, but let's be real. How many times have you seen a project just get completely lost? It goes way over budget, blows past its deadline. Well, today we're going to break down the official playbook, this awesome governance policy that's designed to stop all that from happening and turn those big ideas into actual successful realities.
I mean, seriously? We've all heard the horror stories, haven't we? Or maybe you've even been in the middle of one yourself. That brilliant plan that somehow, almost magically, ends up costing twice as much and taking 3 times as long. It's, yeah, it's frustratingly common. But here's the good news. It absolutely does not have to be that way. This isn't some curse we're all doomed to repeat. There are actual proven ways to get out of that chaos and into a clear, successful project, right from the very beginning.
And that's what we're digging into today, the project governance policy. Now hold on, I know what you're thinking. Policy? Ugh, sounds super boring, right? Like a bunch of red tape. But I want you to think of this less like a dry rule book and more like a playbook, a practical, really powerful tool that's basically a step-by-step guide to getting things done right.
Okay, so here's the roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll cover why projects even need rules in the first place. Then, we'll walk through the journey from a simple idea to a solid blueprint. After that, we'll look at how the right projects get chosen, how we keep them on track, and finally, what it takes to actually cross that finish line. Sound good? Let's dive in. All right, section 1. Why do we even need rules? I mean, you might think rules just stifle creativity, but it's actually the complete opposite. It's all about bringing some much-needed order to the chaos that comes with creating something new. It gives everyone on the team a clear, shared framework so you're all moving in the same direction. And these objectives right here, they get to the heart of it. This isn't about adding bureaucracy for the sake of it. It's about making sure every single project actually lines up with the big picture strategy. It's about making decisions that are transparent and based on real evidence. It's about accountability, especially when public money is involved. And of course, it's about standardizing how things are managed so everyone's speaking the same language. Okay, so once you've got those rules of the road established, it's time to move on to the blueprint. And honestly, this analogy is perfect. You would never, ever build a house without a solid plan, right? The same exact principle applies to projects. This whole phase is about doing that crucial, mandatory planning up front. And before a single cent is spent, every single project has to go through these 4 steps. No exceptions. You start with a project charter, then you define the scope and deliverables, you figure out the risks, and then, and only then, do you develop a realistic budget. The order here is so critical. Getting it backwards is how so many projects start that slow, painful slide into failure. Okay, you're going to hear this term a lot in project management, WBS, or work breakdown structure. It sounds super technical, but all it really means is taking a massive, overwhelming project and just breaking it down into smaller, manageable chunks. It's the secret to making the impossible feel totally possible. Now, this right here, this single sentence is maybe one of the most powerful lines in the entire policy. No budget line may exist without a corresponding deliverable. This is the absolute core of financial accountability. It means you can't just ask for a pile of cash. You have to be able to point to exactly what tangible thing that money is going to create. No fluff, no vague promises, just results. And the budgeting rules themselves are super specific. First, you have to use bottom-up cost estimation. That just means you build the budget from the individual tasks up, not a wild guess from the top down. You also have to include a contingency fund, somewhere between 5 and 15% for those risks you identified earlier. And this is a big one. You have to separate your one-time costs, that's CapEx, from your ongoing operational costs, or OpEx. You have to think about the entire life cycle, including things like maintenance down the road. So this chart gives you a pretty good visual of what that looks like. That big chunk, CapEx, that's the money to actually build or buy the thing. The OpEx slice is what it's going to cost to run it day to day. And that little 10% for contingency, that's your safety net. It's not a panic button, it's planned preparedness. Okay, so you've done your homework. You've got this amazing, perfectly planned idea. Fantastic, but so do a dozen other people. So how does your project get the green light? That's what this next section is all about. And here's how it's done. It's not based on who has the flashiest presentation or who shouts the loudest. It's based on data, using a scoring matrix just like this one. Every single project gets evaluated objectively. And just look at what has the most weight, 30% for strategic alignment. That means if a project doesn't fit the organization's main goals, it's pretty much a non-starter. And that's the whole point, really. This system is designed to weed out those pet projects and make sure that our limited time, money, and energy are focused only on the stuff that's truly going to move the needle. It's all about making smart, objective choices. And we got the green light. The project is approved. Now, of course, the real work begins: execution. This phase is all about navigating the build, managing the day-to-day, and dealing with all those little challenges that are bound to pop up. And what's cool is that the policy is actually pretty flexible here. It doesn't try to force one method on every project. If what you're doing is pretty straightforward, with fixed requirements, like, say, building a bridge, you can use a traditional waterfall approach. But if your project is more dynamic, where things might evolve, like developing software, you can use a more iterative, flexible, agile approach. You pick the right tool for the job. Now, on any big project, knowing who does what is everything. This table lays it all out, so there's no confusion. You've got the project steering committee up top, setting the strategic direction. Then you have the project manager, who's on the ground every day, leading the team and making sure the playbook is being followed. And of course, the department heads are absolutely essential. They're the ones providing the people and resources to actually get the work done. Oh, and this is a huge one: scope creep. We've all seen it, right? It's when a project starts with one goal, but then little changes and can we just add this one thing additions slowly pile up and derail the whole thing. A formal change control process stops that dead in its tracks. Any change, no matter how small, has to be formally proposed, evaluated for its impact, and then approved. It keeps everyone laser focused on the original goal. And that brings us to the finish line. The heavy lifting is done, the product is delivered, but hold on, the project isn't actually over yet. This final stage, the formal closure, is just as important as that very first planning step. Think of this as the final checklist for a job well done. First, you have to validate that what you built actually works and meets all the requirements. Then, you officially close out all the financials. Step 3, and this is so often skipped but so important, you document the lessons learned. What went right, what went wrong, so the next team can benefit. Then you do a proper handover to the team that will run it long term, and finally, you archive everything. It's about a clean, professional finish. And this quote really just nails the whole philosophy behind this process. The goal isn't just to finish the project. It's to deliver real, measurable value and to make sure the entire organization gets a little bit smarter from the experience. So if you're going to remember just a few things from all this, let it be these. First, this policy isn't a rulebook meant to restrict you. It's a playbook for success. Second, it's all about making sure that money, especially public money, is spent wisely on things that actually matter. It provides a clear, structured road from a simple idea to a real, successful outcome. And maybe most importantly, it builds accountability into every single step of the process. So that leaves us with one final thought. This whole playbook isn't just theory, right? It's a practical tool. So now that you know the framework, now that you see the path from idea to reality, what's the one project you'd start to make the biggest impact? What's your big idea?